Today we're going to uncover just how big of a spender the oil godfather of the world, King Salman bin Abdul Aziz, the King of Saudi Arabia, and the head honcho of the $1.4 trillion House of Saud really is. Because whether it's traveling with 7 airplanes or bringing your own golden escalator to get off of that plane, if there is one thing you can be sure of that the Saudi king will not hesitate to do, it is spending money on a nice vacation. As children, if we ever heard about the stories of ancient kings like Mansa Musa, who traveled wearing golden robes or others like him, most of us understandably thought those stories as nothing more than fairy tales. And while that is true for the most part, there are still a few monarchs out there that truly know what it means to be a royal. And first and foremost among them is King Salman Abdul Aziz. And be prepared, because some of his spending and demands have been lavish enough to cause protests which included thousands of people. And if you make it till the end, we may tell you about the Crown Prince. The notorious Mohammed bin Salman once ordered hundreds of strippers to an island that he rented out in its entirety during one of his trips. First things first, as of 2022, King Salman is 87 years old, and as a result, doesn't travel as often as he did in his youth. But he has managed to sneak in a few visits in the last decade, one of the most prominent of which has been his most recent trip to Indonesia in 2017. So, let's go over just a few of the prominent details surrounding the trip. First up, being the king, he doesn't travel alone. But unlike other people of his importance, King Salman likes to go, let's just say, overboard. You see, during his Indonesia trip, he brought with him not a few dozen or a few hundred, but more than 1,000 people. And all of those nearly 1,500 people came in a fleet of 7 aircraft that included Boeing 747s, 777s, a 757, a 737, and a Lockheed C-130 Hercules transport aircraft. And that was just for 9 days. But if you think that's the whole story, you're mistaken, because the king also brought a lot of luggage. Just how much, you ask? Well, he brought a metric shipload, literally, weighing over 500 metric tons. This travel luggage included stuff like not 1, but 2 Mercedes cars, and weighed more than 200 elephants combined. Now I know that whenever you or I travel, we always wish that somehow there would be no other tourists where we plan to go. Well, as it turns out, even national leaders sometimes feel that way. But the difference between them and us is that they don't just want the tourists gone, but they also want to get rid of the locals. And the other difference, they can actually accomplish that. That's right. When King Salman visited the south of France in 2015, he not only pulled his regular routine of a massive entourage and airtight security, but he also got an entire beach closed off for his own private enjoyment and safety. You see, during a visit in coordination with the French government, which has been nurturing new links with Saudi Arabia and other Gulf Arab countries over the last 3 years in order to better their business relations with these places, King Salman decided to make his place of stay a villa on the Mediterranean coast, in the scenic town of Vallauris. Interestingly enough, the same place has been the choice of other high-profile tourists as well. More specifically, it's the place where legendary actress Rita Hayworth celebrated her wedding to Prince Ali Khan in 1949. And as expected, King Salman traveled there with everything expected of someone like him, bringing a massive 1,000 people entourage, including servants, princes, and the like. And as a result, the local media brought a lot of attention to the area as well, helping the local economy. Yet in just a few days, he cut the 3 weeks visit short to leave for Morocco. So what happened that could have possibly ruined this otherwise idyllic trip? Well, you see, being 80 years old at the time of the visit, King Salman is a little less than fit for much walking. And because of that, whenever he travels, he likes to bring with himself, wait for it, entire elevators that can be assembled and disassembled whenever required. And one set of these elevators he installed in front of the villa down to the beach. And because he wanted to enjoy the serenity of the beach and keep his elevator secure, it caused the local visitors to the beach a lot of problems. As a result, in just a few days of his arrival, nearly 150,000 people signed an online petition to have King Salman vacate the beach. Now, in the past, this might have prompted a king to take that as a sign of disrespect and wage war, but King Salman said that he respected the French people and hoped his schedule next year would permit a visit to nearby Cannes, where the famous film festival is held annually, and promptly left the country, allowing locals to once again visit the lovely beaches. And those are just two of the most recent trips. Before those, the king has been to Russia, where he brought with him his iconic golden escalator, and also had 800 kilograms, 1,764 pounds, of food brought in every day from his hometown. He also bought out the famous Moscow Ritz for his entire stay. By comparison, that's the same place President Barack Obama and Trump stayed at during their trips, but even they didn't book out the entire thing. He did the same thing when he booked out every single one of the 222 rooms in the Four Seasons Hotel, Washington, D.C. in Georgetown, when he traveled to the US on a state visit in 2015. Now that's nice and all for the king, but as anyone who has heard of Saudi politics in recent years will know, the man actually pulling the reins of the country is the current king's son, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who, among other things, has gained quite a bit of controversy due to his involvement in the Yemen war. And seeing he's going to replace his father as king in the coming decade, what about his own spending habits? Well, you'll be thrilled to know that not only is Salman moving in his father's footsteps, but he might just exceed him in terms of just how lavish you can get. So let's talk a little bit about that. Now, of his official trips, which have been growing in number, the majority have been diplomatic ones and not leisure ones. But that doesn't mean the king's regent doesn't travel with the same pomp, even if it is for work. For example, during his recent visit to Pakistan, a longtime ally of Saudi Arabia, the prince's airplane was escorted by an entire squadron of Pakistan Air Force's JF-17s and F-16s throughout his travel in Pakistani airspace. And then, if his importance wasn't emphasized already, he was greeted by the Prime Minister of the country upon his arrival and traveled with him to the Prime Minister's residence. And then there was the time when the prince decided to travel to everyone's favorite West Coast destination, the one and only Los Angeles, in order to woo Hollywood executives into opening up about his country. So how did he decide to spend his time on this so-called official trip? Well, he booked the entire Four Seasons Los Angeles, which, if you couldn't already guess, was of course in Beverly Hills. But the best part is he didn't even stay at the hotel, and instead gave it up to his entourage, choosing to himself stay in an unnamed place for security reasons. Shockingly enough, this is actually not the first time he has done that. Previously, he did the same thing at the Plaza Hotel in New York City, when he and his posse were in town for a conference. And earlier the same year, when he visited France for 3 days, his luggage, although not as grand as his father's, was still more than a literal truckload. But that being said, these trips still have nothing on the kind of things he does on his leisure trips. And the best example of that was his undercover party in the Maldives, a scenic island country in the Indian Ocean. You see, during that trip, Mohammed bin Salman not only rented out an entire island called Vela, which was designed to be one of the world's most luxurious and expensive destinations, and had stuff like some 4 dozen private villas, private decks and swimming pools covering a quarter of the island, and even snow machines to create a snowscape on a tropical island. But the most impressive part was his hiring of over 150 models for the entertainment of just a few dozen men from the Middle East. And all in all, this super exclusive event cost the prince a whopping $50 million. I hope you enjoyed watching today's video, and if you did, Be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. This has been Luxury Zone. I'll see you next time.